Speed is more important than quality for people who want to validate. Oh, I'm in my late 20s or 30s. I'm 30 plus and I'm successful. I'm 27 living in my mom's house, like in my mom's basement. Like, I'm messed up. I messed up so many things. Like, come on. Come on, what kind of illusion and lie do y'all keep entertaining when the reality is the worst thing you can experience in life is success without ever experiencing true and professional failure? Every person I've met or even seen online, like you've seen these rappers or musicians or social media figures, right? They blow up at an early age and then you be feeling like, dang, look at me. Like, what about me? Like, and I'm starting to notice this pattern where it's like a running back situation. If you have 5 years being successful as a young man or woman, right? Believe it or not, you've had a good career and run. Otherwise, here today, gone tomorrow. And oftentimes the reason why is because when you're too early as a bloomer or too early into your success and haven't experienced the cost of grinding it out for long sustainable journeys, you end up building coping mechanisms to handle the inevitable downfall of your life. This is why people who peaked in high school or early adult years, oftentimes they don't peak again until like 30 plus. They found early success, they were young achievers, and they locked themselves into an identity or career path, yet they didn't truly understand their own value or priority system yet. And I think it's, this running back situation, when I mentioned that, if you don't get the analogy, here's a check on the screen right now. In American football, people grind out their whole life to be in the NFL, to make millions upon millions of dollars, sponsorships, everything, right? These people only be having careers for like 3 years on average. Some people are anomalies, right? They make it for past 3 to 5 years and so forth, right? But you know why it doesn't last this long for these people? Because you're constantly hitting people, right? You know how American football is. Constantly, you're getting tackled and it's demanding. And once those 3 years are up, these guys who had zero impulse control, zero decision-making skills, and because they bloomed so early, drafted into the league in their early 20s, after football, most of these guys, they don't know what to do with their lives. They have an identity crisis. You ain't the star anymore. But can you handle what's going on after that? Do you know how to budget your money when it's tight now? You are making millions. Do you know how to budget it? Do you know how to swallow your pride? Do you know how to navigate family dynamics as an adult, even though you were too busy playing ball? Do you know how to rebuild from zero after you've had something? Because some people, they never had anything and then they made it to the league or something like that and then they went back to zero. Do you know how to rebuild now from zero after you had so much? The questions that I'm asking, do you know who tends to have the answers to those questions? Those who experience failure already. The one who is 27, living in his mom's basement or something, living at home with his parents. He probably has a better idea of crisis management. He or she, they're currently experiencing building from zero. Life is constantly giving them lessons. It's difficult. So swallowing that pride is something they got to do, and it's not by choice. These people, they learn how to budget money when they 25 plus because they got bills to pay and they're not successful. They didn't bloom. They didn't peak yet. And if they already did at a younger age, basically they hit the reset button. And all of this is completely okay. If someone gives you a hard time for being there, for you being in your late 20s or 30s and you're still trying to figure it out, right? You still haven't made it yet. I love to put their life under a microscope because, I realize every time someone has said something like that to me, or I've seen people do it to other people, I start looking at, when I finally realized like what their life is about or what their journey was like, I was like, yo, that's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. I remember my mom used to give me a hard time about this. I turned 18, right? And my mom was like, when I was 18, I moved out and I had this and that, blah, 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 blah. I had all this, like, okay, huh. When you were 18, you moved out and you had all of this going on. Okay. Huh. Well, later I find out in my life, right? My mom told me, I found out that you moved back home twice. You lost your job numerous times because you crashed out at your jobs, right? You didn't know how to deal with people. You had to work 3 jobs. You know why? Because you didn't spend properly. Meanwhile, all this happened while I was born. I was a 2-year-old little kid. I can't articulate all this going on when I'm 2, but you don't mention this to me until years later about your struggle. I just find it very interesting how critical you were of my trajectory in my life when I was younger. And I feel like it would have been better if you just explained the struggle to me when I was younger instead of making me feel like crap because, I'm 18 and I don't got it all. You know? Like, dude, I don't need to live the same life you lived. My life is not a mirror of yours. My experience is always going to be unique to me, which is what I'm saying about when people give you a hard time about it. Yo, you got to really think about this. Like, these people are projecting something onto you. They want you to live their life. You're not them. And you don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Instead of looking at social media figures or what other people are saying, or like, again, your favorite rapper or musician who made it big at 17 or 21 or something, a streamer, right, or whatever, you should actually look at the people who have long-lasting, stable, and consistent lifestyles. It's not a highlight reel. You should look at these, quote, celebrities or famous people who bloomed at like 32, 40 years old. And if you read their stories, these people were just like you, being broke, sorrow, heartbreak, bad relationships, bad decisions, bad management, managing your emotions, your time, all this stuff. And then they finally, after constantly being hit with stuff in life, they found it. They had a breakthrough. Something happened and life changed for the better. If you peak or succeed at like 23 years old, 21, whatever, right? Look, hey, you peaked at 21 or you just succeeded at 21, you're successful, right? 23, 21, whatever. Yo, I wish you the best in maintaining that success for 60 plus years without the maturity to handle it. Good luck. Bro, good luck. I would be highly shocked if you are able to do that. Cause I don't know, bro. If you think you're mature and you got life figured out, right? Because, you're successful right now and you're in your early 20s, I can't wait to hear about your running back career. Because everyone who finds success early and they find it on a first or second try, they're usually the ones with the biggest egos, but they're very fragile. The moment they face a real challenge in life or something dips in their success, they shatter. You know why? Because they have no reference point on how to recover. Compare this to someone who has been spending their adult years accumulating knowledge, experiences, resilience, management, and swallowing their pride and ego, rebuilding themselves. And if they go through a real challenge, right? Those people, this reminds me of when I was at this point in my life. I'm kind of going through something and I have a better idea how to handle it now and how to be emotionally mature about it. My self-worth isn't attached to my success. I've been through something already. This problem that I have right in front of me, it's not really that big of a problem. I've been through worse and now I have a better idea on how to handle it. But, it's like a bow and an arrow, right? Let's say you pull the arrow in the bow. Right? You got a bow and arrow, right? You pull the arrow back. You're aiming right now. You're ready to shoot the arrow. And all this energy you're building up, the calculations you're making, the precision. You want to land directly on the spot right here. You're trying to get this perfect shot. And when you calculate it enough, you finally realize this is the perfect spot to let it go, to release the arrow. That's life. Life is constantly shooting arrows and missing. Sometimes you're spending more time trying to aim that arrow. Sometimes you shoot arrows because you feel confident in your aim, right? And you don't really even have to think about it that much. And some people, they're naturally good at this. They are natural at archery, right? But what effect does that have when things change up, though? Those naturals, right? And they didn't practice. They don't have the experience preparing their aim. They don't know how to adjust. They don't know how to calculate when, suddenly the target is moving now. Okay, well, how I got to hit this moving target? I'm used to this target staying still. Like, they didn't practice. But you did. So now the natural, who was always hitting all their shots, isn't a natural anymore. Does this make sense? Let me know what you guys think. Don't be hard on yourself for getting older and trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, by the way, this doesn't excuse being lazy, right? Like, bro, you always got to be working towards something, okay? People move at different speeds. It's completely fine, all right? But don't be hard on yourself. I'm living with my parents. All right, well, at least you got a place to be. For real, like, come on now. Anyway, such is life. I love you guys. I'm out.